Mic check.
Awesome, man. You guys have anyone else speaking?
No, it's just gonna be us. Dub's still on honeymoon, so it's just gonna be us tonight.
Awesome. Good for him, man. So for those of you who aren't aware, this is a spotlight AMA on SquidGrow, who's on the Ethereum and Binance blockchain now. Um, for those of you who don't know, these guys were huge. They blew up, and they still are huge. They're just everywhere. They were part of that Netflix series. I think it was Netflix, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And they've just overall worked really, really hard building amazing utilities and just have had a great presence in the crypto space and a lot of success. So we wish them future success through this AMA. We look to highlight a lot of what's happened since we interviewed them last. We've been quote unquote in their corner for over 6 months now. I think it's going on 7 months. So we're keeping up to date with these guys, what they're doing. We're constantly trying to give updates to them for what they're doing, as well as their progress within the crypto space and DeFi. So really excited to get into what's happened from then till now, because I believe it's been about 4 months since, or maybe even longer. I think about 4 months since I've interviewed these guys last. I've obviously had a very busy life myself, so I haven't been able to keep up with every single thing that's happened from SquidGrow from then till now, as I'm sure a lot of our community and listeners also haven't been able to necessarily follow every single detail. So it'll be good to kind of get a retrospective into what's happened from then till now, a little bit of a top-down view about who SquidGrow is, and in addition to that, what's coming next and what's coming in the future for these guys. One more call to the top there. There is a giveaway tweet, and there is also the tweet that has all the information for the space. So please share both of those. Looks like we got 149 likes and 89 reposts. 5,000, 4,000 impressions so far, so that's pretty solid. So let's just get into it. For those people who don't know, maybe both Shibtoshi and Dane, starting with Shibtoshi, can introduce themselves and a little bit about their role in SquidGrow.
Hey, thanks for having us. It's always a pleasure. How's it going, everybody? I'm Shibtoshi. I am the co-founder of SquidGrow. We launched in June of 22, and we are a meme utility token, emphasis on utility. We have been developing such this entire market, finally getting around to starting to roll our utilities out, which we will all see become apparent in 2024. So definitely looking forward to that. But we, as I said, we are a meme utility token, and you know, essentially, I think we're kind of the best of both worlds. We've got that fun logo, and we've got the utility side of it. And those that are unaware, kind of how we came upon the name was in 21, Squid Games, the TV show, was hot and heavy, and I was the number two whale in Evergrow, which was a project on the BSC. So I kind of took two things that were very positive and popular at the time and put them together. Squid Games took Squid, Evergrow took Grow, put them together. Here we are. Um, so yeah, Dane, you want to kind of chime in from there?
Sure. So I'm Dane, go by Crypto Blast in some areas, and I've been in the space since 2016. Big fan of marketing, big fan of working with SquidGrow as their CMO. It's been a fun ride thus far since June of 2022 to where we are now. A lot's changed, a lot's evolved, a lot has grown, as implied by the name, and it's a privilege to work for SquidGrow on a daily basis. And I think that as from a marketing standpoint, with what I do, you're really going to see our efforts ramp up coming into this new year, which is only 10 days away, as we get ready for a pretty exciting slate of utilities that have been under development now for some time and are really ready to hit the market at, I think, what will be the perfect time.
Big fan of marketing. Man, you like a masochist or something like that? So
I do enjoy pain, yeah, because you're a hero sometimes, and you're also the scapegoat of
On
others.
on
So
the chopping block the rest of the time.
oh yeah,
yeah,
dude, you gotta have thick skin for sure. But it is quite the dopamine rush when things are going well. So I can't wait for that to turn back around and get this reversal on its way. And I think that these things that we've been building are definitely going to do that in tandem with the marketing that we have scheduled.
well, thick skin you both have. Obviously, anyone can come up with a great idea. The soup of the season, it was at the time of SquidGrow, it was at the time of Squid Games and Evergrow, but it says a lot more to have stuck with it as long as you guys have, and actually be delivering on the things that you're going to be delivering on, a year later, and still building, because this space is very unforgiving when it comes to
Absolutely.
those things. And utilities obviously have to at some point hold water above just what the investments are, as we've seen. And I think the meta definitely has been that you have to have a utility, and as both a meme coin and a utility token, I think that you guys nail it and that you can hit both elements of those market so really, really successfully. You can have it be fun, you can have a fun community, you can have jokes and a fun loving logo that captures people's attention, but then you can also deliver the content and revenue that's going to take Squid Games to the next level. And I'm excited to hear about your leverage trading platform. At least that's what we talked about, but I'm also excited to hear about other utilities that you guys may have coming out as well. So congrats so far on the over year and a half, almost. No, yeah, full year and a half of existing. Huge statement in the crypto space. Most projects end in a couple months. So big progress there, and congrats to that. So let's start. What's happened since our last AMA, since we talked last? Actually, let's take a step back and just, why don't you talk about what SquidGrow is a little bit from a top-down perspective, your whole ecosystem, and then we'll kind of get in the retrospective and then the future.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so just kind of giving a somewhat brief rundown. As I said previously, we are a utility meme token, a meme utility token, however you want to word it. And we've got that fun, playful side about us. And we've also got the very serious utility side. Now, we are just about to start rolling out some of our serious utility that we have been working on through this bear market. But up until this point, some of the first couple things we rolled out, which I would really consider them utilities, but we successfully sustained and ran a very high APR staking platform for our token for a long time. It was upwards of 50% APR. A lot of people said we could not sustain it. We did. We just simply do a buyback on the chart, accumulate the tokens, and feed them into the staking contract. So we ran that for a long time. Unfortunately, we concluded it October 1st due to the obvious of giving out a high APR. We saw a lot of selling pressure on the chart, and just kind of weighing it, we decided to just discontinue. Aside from that, we successfully launched our ETH chain. I don't recall the date. I think it was June 1st. We went to ETH. We ran a very successful ILO where within about 26 hours, we raised $1 million, 540 ETH for our ETH liquidity. Obviously, 100% of that went to seed the liquidity on the ETH chain. And shortly thereafter, we debuted our bridge, which wasn't around very long. Unfortunately, that particular bridge solution was with AnySwap, and AnySwap started running into all kinds of issues right there after we started using them, to the point that it shut down. But kind of in between that, we partnered with Mike S. Miller from DC Comics, Game of Thrones, and Marvel. He has done a 10,000 piece NFT collection for us. And within that 10,000 piece, we have what we are calling our ultra rare NFTs. There's 100 of them. And before the FTX debacle and all that good stuff, I spent just about $300,000 on blue chip NFTs, everything ranging from Mutant Apes, Doodles, Kennel Clubs, Metaverse Land, Goblin Town, kind of anything that was popular at the time. And I purchased those. We store them in our Treasury wallet, and we have incorporated that into our NFT collection in the form of our ultra rares. And our ultra rares, if you can envision it, or you can go over to SquidGrow's NFT here on X and kind of get an example of them. But our ultra rare NFTs are depicted holding a Polaroid picture, and within that picture, there's a blue chip NFT. And if you mint one of our ultra rares holding the Polaroid picture, you get ownership of that blue chip as well. So that's something that we have decided to incorporate into the NFT collection. It's something that I've never personally seen done before. I'm not saying we're the first, but I've just never seen it. And kind of go hand in hand with that NFT collection, I told Mike Miller I would build a fully functional NFT marketplace around his collection. And we have done so. It was about a 10, 11 month build process. 3 different versions of it. Final version is what I decided I liked, and that's what's currently in audit. It's called Incubate Marketplace. Well, Incubate, but it's a NFT marketplace. It's currently in audit with Surtech. That will be our 11th Surtech audit. We currently have 9 published audits on Surtech. We're AAA rated, 87.55 possibly on Surtech. So we got a decent score, working our way up into the 90s. I think after we get into the 90s, that would be acceptable. Not quite there yet. But, and then as you mentioned earlier, then there's SGX. SGX is going to be our fully functional decentralized perpetual exchange. And with SGX, we have 4 versions of it. Every version getting a little better, but this fourth version that we're currently working on, we are trying to incorporate something very special onto one side of it. So, without getting into too much detail, there is a certain side of this perpetual exchange that will be very unique and different. It will unfortunately require KYC because there are compliance issues. If we are able to pull this off now, the aspect of building this stuff is very easy, very straightforward, but then the compliance aspect of it that we would have to be ridiculed to is kind of obviously outside of our control. And if for any reason we're not able to pull that off, then we would just roll out our SGX perpetual exchange as is without this other side. But something we're working on. I'm very excited about that. Just kind of going through some processes, trying to make it the very best, the most competitive, out there that we possibly can. Outside of SGX, we've recently just debuted on Bitcoin.com. Articles that we just published, Knox Locker. It's knoxlocker.com. We recently have created our own liquidity locker and token vesting locker as well, and that is also audited by Surtech. Currently waiting for the address tags to update on chain, so hopefully that happens soon. So when your liquidity or tokens are locked with us on chain, it will read Knox Locker. In addition to that, we are currently working with Dex Tools to get recognized as a liquidity locker. So when anybody's liquidity is locked with us, it actually registers on Dex Tools. There's only a couple that are currently on there. Obviously, Unicrypt, Floki Locker, maybe Pink Sale, maybe one other, maybe 2. There's not many on there, but working with Dex Tools to achieve that. Dane, what else we got? Another unique, something that's unique about our contracts as well that we coded into our Ethereum contracts, and then later when we migrated our BSC contract to the same contract, within that contract we have something we call the SAM function. It stands for a SquidGrow Absorption Machine, and it allows us to acquire and absorb other projects and communities directly into our contract. We have done this previously before in the form of Versa Finance, which was a auditing company, a utility company, and a token that was out for a while. Unfortunately, this market, they fell victim to that. But we were able to acquire them and their community. The way that we achieved that essentially is we took their liquidity, did a buy on the chart, and then airdropped those tokens to the community. And that's all fine and dandy. You get a nice little pump on the chart. Doesn't really do much for our liquidity pool though, because a very small percentage of that, the buy tax, goes to LP. Well, utilizing our SAM function, if we had it at that time, we could have took that liquidity, injected it directly into the contract. Obviously, when you inject liquidity, you get chart movement, right? It's kind of like a buy. But in addition to that upward chart movement, 100% of everything you inject goes to LP. So it's a win-win. You pump the chart and also grow your LP at the same time. So that's another little unique situation that we have going on in our contracts. And again, everything that we have and that the users are using has all been audited. With Surtech, we are currently working with another bigger auditing firm for secondary audits right now. I won't put out any names because it's a little too premature to do that, but we did just start adding their team to our GitHubs so they could start giving estimates on pricing. But so
yeah, man, that's a fair bit of stuff. I'd like to almost I mean, for me personally, I'd almost like to start at talking about the token itself and then maybe getting into all those utilities because you mentioned that there was a BSC token migration. So could you talk just about the state of the token right now? Like, what is the supply? Is it a single smart contract? Are you still on both chains? And could you kind of update people, obviously, what started on BSC, bridged with ETH? You mentioned that the bridge had gone down because the third party service, through no fault of your own, obviously had some issues. So could you talk about the state of the token a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah, absolutely. Are you telling me I kind of went a little above and beyond real quick, and we weren't quite there yet? I'll slow it down a little
No,
bit.
no, I liked to me that was just the top down.
Yeah.
That was a sweep of all the utilities. Now I
Yes.
can talk about each one of those
Yep.
elements starting with the token.
All right. Yeah. So as I said previously, we launched in June of 2022. We originally launched on BSC. We're a 1 quadrillion supply. We are a tax token. Our tax all feeds our liquidity. That means 100% of everything that's generated on buy and sell goes to our liquidity pools. There is no marketing wallet. Um, so yeah, so we debuted on BSC, and kind of early on, we realized that we had an issue with our BSC contract. It was having trouble making liquidity. There's three factors in the contract that help for swap and liquefy. I won't bore you with all those details, but needless to say, I could only change one of those functions. The other two were hard coded. So, we kind of knew kind of early on, we were going to have to migrate. And, eventually we did so. Shortly thereafter, we launched on the Ethereum chain. Dane, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean it's been a long journey, but the ETH side was definitely fun. You mentioned the ILO raise. For those that missed that, we did raise $1 million, and that was all done within basically 24 hours. It was fully funded by the community for our liquidity on the ETH side, which was pretty epic. And then that brings us to the BSC migration as you touched on. So that BSC migration really fixed a lot of different things that needed to be changed from that original contract. It matched the contract with the ETH side as well as far as the address, the SAM functionality Shibtoshi mentioned, and it fixed a couple of issues with the old contract just being kind of out of date compared to what the new one is. So it's much more efficient, and we've got kind of equal action on both sides now as far as what they are capable of doing. So there's no disadvantage to being on BSC or ETH, one side versus the other. So yeah, that brings us to the token. It's I think the most exciting part about the SquidGrow token is that it really is the center of our entire ecosystem, which Shib touched on. So as we've always spoken on since inception, each utility is designed to benefit SquidGrow directly in some way through revenue sharing. And those revenue shares could be a number of different things that we will get into more when each utility comes out. But we've been harping on, I think, what is the biggest buzz in the space right now for a long time. A lot of people are launching new projects lately, and their centerpiece is some type of revenue share. And I've seen a lot of those say they're going to and not really coming to fruition, or they do come into fruition, but they're very underwhelming. We've put a lot of thought into our revenue sharing models that we're going to be rolling out with these utilities, which then directly benefit the SquidGrow token. So I think that's the best part about it. I've started to envision SquidGrow as at the center of the ecosystem as far as what the token is. That will always be the biggest beneficiary when these utilities roll out and actually garner a user base.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I think it'll be cool to go into each of those utilities, with a reasonable amount of time and talk about how each one of those kind of feeds into the center of the ecosystem, which is that token. So just to clarify, there still is a BSC and there still is an ERC. Now, when you launched the ERC token, I don't think I asked this at the time, but I think I meant to have. Did you take tokens from the BSC side and burn them or hide them, or did you kind of double the supply? I'm just kind of curious on that end.
Yeah, so actually, no, we did not. We did not hide. We did not burn. So essentially, each contract, each chain has its own total supply of 1 quadrillion, just as each side has its own liquidity pool. At the time that we did the ILO raise, we had $1 million on BSC liquidity. So our goal was to raise $1 million on ETH, which we successfully achieved. So each chain has its own liquidity.
Yeah, its own supply.
Its own supply and liquidity. And our total circulating supply, as notated on CoinMarketCap, is about 1.1 quadrillion. That is total circulating supply.
Now, is that
To their
because
APAs.
someone burned? Because wouldn't it be 2 billion, or is it because you guys have
No,
a lot
that's
reserved?
circulating supply is 1.1 quadrillion. Total supply is 2 quadrillion.
Nice. So when it comes to that other 900, God, the numbers are now messing with me.
Big numbers. So the reserve of the tokens, everything that is left is in our treasury wallets. That is for
Wow.
obviously.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's obviously for maintenance of exchanges when we list on exchanges. Unfortunately, the exchanges in our situation do not buy the tokens on the chart. We provide that with initial liquidity. So we do have tokens set aside for that. Obviously, we need tokens to maintain the liquidity pools on the various exchanges that we are listed on. So there is a reserve. They are parked in the treasury wallet, displayed real proud. Actually just updated the label there. So if anybody's looking at our holder list and wondering what this top wallet is, it's now labeled SquidGrow Treasury. That's where the rest of the tokens are. Outside of that, everything's in circulation on exchanges and within the community.
Nice. Yeah, I think that answers a lot of my questions. Sorry if these seemed a little more scrutinous. I'm just kind of trying to break down exactly what's happened with the tokens.
Fire away.
Okay, so then lastly, first of all, also super bullish to hear that, so much of the supply is not circulating. Because with, 2 quadrillion, man,
Yeah.
God, the numbers. Yeah, with the two quadrillion, obviously that seems like a big number, especially if you were a previous holder from the BSC contract. But at 1.1 million, it's basically a very similar supply, and a lot has gone back into liquidity. Have the taxes changed at all since the beginning, and what are the taxes now, and what's kind of the plan with that in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, real quick, I just wanted to touch on, although we launched another contract with another total supply, none of our holders were diluted in any way, shape, or form.
Of course, yeah.
So
because you guys raised the extra money to match it.
Correct, yes. Okay, so obviously, we've, scaled our tax down since the very early days. Our current tax is 4% buy, 6% sell. Again, all of the tax goes to liquidity. It goes to the contract, and liquidity is made. I do have plans to continue to scale our taxes down with the grand plan of going 0-0 eventually. Now, we will go 0-0 eventually after our utilities are out. We're generating revenue. And then that's kind of where as Dane kind of touched on a little earlier, the kind of so-called revenue share kicks in. With at least SGX, I have promised 25% of all revenue generated there going back to the community in the form of a buyback liquidity.
Nice. Yeah.
Into our liquidity.
You're coming in and out.
Hey, Shib, we lost you for a moment there, man. The connection was choppy.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, just came back in.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm not sure what's the last part that you heard.
Like maybe 5 seconds max. That's all.
Yeah, no, I feel like I got most of it. So, you had mentioned the taxes were eventually trying to go to 0, which makes sense for a lot of your utilities, because ultimately, if people are utilizing the token within the ecosystem, 0 taxes obviously has those benefits as a utility. So, and you had started to mention that there was the revenue share, 25% gets added to liquidity. So I did want to ask, when it comes to having a multi-chain token, how basically that liquidity addition does it get added equally to BSC and ERC side? Are you working in that capacity to make the tokens as equivocal as you can?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I stated, 25% of the revenue generated on SGX will go back to our community and our token. So 25% will be split between both BSC and Ethereum in the form of either a buyback or a liquidity injection or both. And as I stated at that time, we will no longer need and be dependent on the buy and sell tax to feed our liquidity, because we will be feeding it from an outside revenue. So at that point, we will go 0-0.
Fantastic, man. So when it comes, so in that sense, doesn't it make sense, obviously, just to buy the lowest chain? Because ultimately, when it comes to the utility and the revenue share and those elements, getting as much SquidGrow is the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And here, very quickly, very soon, we'll be putting out our new bridge, which was audited by Surtech. The community will see that relatively soon. And there will be arbitrage opportunities, obviously, between both chains. We, obviously want to see both chains at equal prices or close there too, but there's no way to really guarantee that. So, that can present an arbitrage opportunity for somebody to accumulate more tokens on the lower chain or sell for profit on the higher chain, vice versa.
Yeah, that sounds good, man. All right, I think for me that answers all the questions on the token. I think that's like, a lot has happened and a lot is happening with that element of things. So I think clearing that up is helpful, at least to me and maybe anyone else who hasn't tuned in for a while, to kind of catch up on how the whole token element of the ecosystem works. So let's talk about the utilities that are going to potentially feed that ecosystem. We had mentioned SquidGrow X. That's where we left off when we talked about last AMA, and we had talked about it just now. So maybe we could talk a little bit more about it. I know that you had mentioned that there was a lot of regulatory elements that kind of go into, making that a success, more so even than the development issues. But you still plan on launching it. Can you talk? Let's dive into SquidGrow X before we move on to the other utilities.
Yeah. So just to be clear, now the decentralized perpetual exchange aspect of SGX is not regulatory, right? That's just the decentralized perpetual exchange. There is not really any regulation that needs to go into that. There is something different that we are doing, kind of on the, under the same roof, but we'll say a different room. And in this particular room, there is, certain regulatory things that we need to make sure that we're in compliance are. That's where the attorneys come into play. And again, there is no guarantees that we'll be able to pull that off. Obviously, it's outside of our hands, but that's kind of what we're holding out for. And if you're asking yourself, well, why don't you just roll out the decentralized perpetual exchange and then maybe do a V2 later with this other unknown area of SGX? And the reason being is, when you're being scrutinized and making sure that you're in compliance, if I have to change one aspect of the platform, I'd have to shut down the entire platform. So if we have launched and went live and we are generating a user base and then all of a sudden I have to shut it down, those users are going to go somewhere else. And I just personally would rather wait to see if we are going to be able to launch it all together instead of just doing it in phases. Because in this particular situation, I can't see how it would be a benefit to roll it out in phases. So that's kind of where we're trying to hold out for. We do have 4 versions of it, 4 working versions, but there is a certain area that we are kind of waiting to see what happens. It's kind of outside of our control, and I think doing the holdout method and trying to roll everything out together is the best play for us. And if push comes to shove and we're not able to get within compliance in this certain area, then we'll just roll out SGX as planned, just the decentralized perpetual without this other version of this other area of it.
Yeah, man. So I think that ultimately begs the question: if you're seeking regulatory assurance, you're not a purely decentralized. Did you guys register as a business? I believe you do have an LLC, right, or something?
Yeah, we're registered in St. Vincent's and the Grenadines. And to be clear, the decentralized perpetual exchange, there is no KYC on that. But if you're going to want to trade in this other area, there's going to be KYC. There's compliance on that side. So there is, essentially one side is decentralized completely, no KYC. But if you want to trade into this, if you want to start trading in this other area, you are going to have to KYC to do so.
So then, do you have to seek regulatory compliance laws within any country that this operates? Or
that I operate, yes, that I operate. So if we want to, in this particular area, the side that we are seeking compliance in, if we want to operate in the USA, then we have to make sure we're in compliance within the USA. And if we don't want to offer services to the USA, then we would be obligated to block out the IP addresses of anybody in the USA.
Now's the perfect time to talk about our VPN sponsors. No, I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Man. Yeah, so awesome. So you guys are waiting, kind of working out the regulatories for as for a specific feature, a specific side of the decentralized exchange. Let's just break down bare minimum it doesn't get the compliance. What can a user do on SGX?
Then you will be able to trade futures decentralized. You'll be able to long, short, Bitcoin, Ethereum, stable coins, essentially any cryptocurrency we deem fit to put on there. Obviously, if anybody's familiar with perpetuals, you're essentially, let's just use Bitcoin as an example. If you do a USDT BTC trade, let's say you're doing a long, you fund that with margin for USDT, and um, you're essentially trading. You get a token position in Bitcoin that essentially goes up in value if the price goes up. Kind of amplified by the leverage that you choose, but you don't actually hold the Bitcoin, right? So it's just kind of like a placeholder in USDT. And
Yeah.
if you're trying to go up with it and Bitcoin goes up, obviously your margin gains in value, right? Depending on the leverage that you pick. And
What are
when
the
you
leverage
decide,
limits?
we haven't made those public yet.
Okay, cool. And also, just to avoid necessarily going into the entirety of leverage trading, I suggest if you're not familiar with it, it's very common in stocks. Go to Wall Street Bets, Reddit, or Facebook, or whatever other group, or go to Google and search in leverage trading, and you can kind of learn about those different elements. Because obviously it's a subject in and of itself to leverage trade, but offering leverage trading is a huge in decentralized finance because it's primarily been a stocks or centralized exchange option.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, future trading is a big pastime of mine. I mean, I do it quite often. It's quite addictive. I traded in the poker tables for it. So
Fair play. So if this regulation is successful, what kind of features does that kind of add?
I can't get into that at this point in time. I'm not going to, because there's, teasing it is kind of big enough, without knowing for sure that we'll actually be able to put it out there. There's not really any point in talking about it, unfortunately.
Okay, fair play, man. I didn't know if it was already public or if this was
No, no, it's not. It just very recently did we start actually talking about this aspect, so.
Nice. So the last question I'll ask about SquidGrow X is, how has the development side of things been going? Has it been smooth? Is it all market ready, but just waiting for this, or is there still a lot of work to be done still?
Okay, so as I said a little earlier, we got 4 versions of SGX. The 4th version is the final version, and that's the one that we will be going with. So that, without the part that needs any overview, is completely ready to go. It's turnkey. I mean, well, we're ready. It just needs an audit, right? So audit still needs to be done. And the reason why it's not an audit yet is because we don't know if there's any changes to it that we have to make. So it makes 0 sense to go ahead and start deploying contracts first of all before the audit, because within the auditing process there might be some things you need to tweak on, but also in the scrutiny that we are subjecting ourselves to right now, there might have to be some kind of code changes implemented into it. So the code base is good. We're ready to go. Development's been, it's been 18 months. And something that I kind of just touched on the other night, I think for the first time, and possibly Evergrow Paul's space that he had on Twitter, the first version of SGX, which went into audit with Versa Finance, we essentially got scammed out of $350,000. It was a $700,000 deal, 50% paid up front, $350,000. And in the auditing process, we discovered it was essentially a one-to-one fork of GMX. And obviously, that was not the quality that we were expecting. We were expecting a custom build. And so it was in that process of Versa Finance audit where we kind of caught on to the fact that the Solidity code was a little older than what is currently out there. I inquired of why, the code might be outdated. I mean, there's numerous reasons why it could be outdated, but oddly enough, the UI of that platform was very similar to GMX, which I was unfamiliar with at that time. It was pointed out to me in DMs by community members, so that was fresh in my mind. And Versa Finance compared it against the GMX code, and it was the one-to-one. So we had to start all the way over. Obviously,
Man, that's
yeah, it was the first big loss that I have taken in the process of SquidGrow, and it stung. I'm not gonna lie. It was like,
I
damn.
mean, one thing just to caveat that is the having L's when it comes to development costs or avenues or basically places where you put effort in the crypto sector is the norm. It has happened to CoinMerge over $100,000. It has happened to every project, so no shame there from my
Yeah,
perspective. That kind of stuff
yeah.
is part of the cost of doing business. Is fit is
You're
the place.
you're not wrong at all. You're absolutely not wrong. It just it was was unexpected, and two, the thing that upsets me the most about it is essentially because it was a fork or a white label. It essentially could have been done in 3 weeks, but it was dragged out months and months. It was slow played as if it was custom built. And so, they spared no expense on trying to, put up all the smoke and mirrors on it. And when it was delivered, I was beyond stoked. We broke it to the community. It's going into audit, and it was within that audit that we discovered what we discovered. And originally, we thought we could save majority of the code and just change it to a certain extent to where obviously it would still be functional, but it would not be considered a fork. But unfortunately, we just decided that it was just we just had to do a complete overhaul with the latest Solidity code. We weren't going to use this old stuff that was out there, and so that started it. So including that first fork that we paid for, we got 4 versions, but we've got 3 custom versions of it, and those custom versions were tailored and designed to everything that I wanted to jam pack into it. And so I'm extremely proud of that. A little disappointed in the first version, but that's how it goes. So you definitely run into some hurdles along the way in the process of building. Sometimes things aren't as smooth as you'd like them to be, and they take a little more time. But that's one of the main reasons why we don't put dates out there to the community to give their hopes up. Because I really, when we announced it to the community, I really thought within the next several months we would be operational. Um, Luckily, unfortunately, we did not speak a date to the community, and so when we discovered what we've discovered, we were able to just kind of go back to the drawing board and start building fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that you guys basically kept building, kept pushing forward, didn't like throw in the towel or something, like that of that nature. And it kind of speaks to the resources that you guys have, but also the dedication to the project and the work ethic. And in some cases, I think it also can make the team feel more human, which I know sometimes there can be elements of a community where it's like, oh, they're all worshiping the leader, whether it's Shai Toshi or Shib Toshi or whatever, whoever the Safe Moon dev was, or uh, Bitcoin creator. There can be that element of it, but it kind of is like, hey, no, like there are real life business things that all businesses face with regards to this, and it can happen to you guys as well. So I obviously no skin off your bones on that one. Keep pushing through, and SquidGrow X has final code ready. Basically, it's just to summarize, unless the compliance laws that you're talking about, which you can't necessarily talk about, require some changes to the code, but everything's good to go. 25% of that is going to go back split between ETH and BSC side, so the more tokens, the better. Just to kind of summarize SquidGrow X.
Mm-hmm.
So we move to the NFT marketplace.
Okay, so Incubate is our NFT marketplace, and it was about a 10, 11-month build time for that, and we do have 3 versions of it. Fortunately, in this situation, they were all custom builds, and we did not lose any money as a result of a scam. Obviously, you spend the time, you spend the money to build it, and then when I decide that I don't want to use it, obviously you've got to start all over and come up with funding for that. But we do have 3 versions. Every version got better with more features, and finally worked our way up to the version that's in audit right now with Certec. So it's first of all, I want to say that unlike OpenSea with the moves that they just made, all our creator fees are still in place. So there is that. So there's some incentive there. And before I kind of get into the inner workings of it, I do want to say that, something unique that we're going to be offering to NFT creators on our platform, if we decide to contract them to do a collection for us, aside from that creator's fee that they get, whether it be, I think the standards, 150,000 to a $250,000, and on up, depending on who you're hiring. But on top of that fee that they're going to collect from us, if they do a collection for us and help us market it and mint out, I'm going to give them a percentage of the total mint. So let's just say, for example, there's 10,000 pieces, and whatever the mint price is, we raise $5 million, right? We're going to give them an agreed upon percentage of that money. So not only do they get the fee to illustrate these, but they're also going to get a piece of the bigger pie, which is something that, from what I understand from Mike Miller and a couple other artists, projects do not do. So there's that. So that will, I hopefully pique some artists' interests to come do collection for SquidGrow under our umbrella, and then mint it on our marketplace. But
Man,
getting into, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you touch into a bigger topic there, which is that artists are sometimes the unsung heroes of the NFT collections.
Absolutely.
They pay them under the table $500, $1,000, $5,000,
Well,
and
shit, I wish I could find an artist that is in that price range.
all right, it's called AI. You can go to OpenAI. No, but so you mint it out for whatever the range of price is. You pay them the flat fee. They don't even get credits. They don't get put
Yeah.
on anything. They don't get talked about. So, appealing to the artists who, would be incentivized to make unique NFT collections themselves, unique work. I mean, I remember when NFTs kind of started, and you'd go to OpenSea and just see just individual pieces of art, not all collections, and a really successful thing. So obviously that's really cool that you appeal to those guys. But yeah, going to the next part of the NFT marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to keep the artist happy, and we're doing it to essentially and hopefully set up a long-term business relationship between us and them. To keep our marketplace nice and full with new collections. But jumping into Incubate itself, obviously it's the typical NFT marketplace. Any collection can be listed there. It has the typical verifications. You can apply for verifications on collections, and if we deem your project or the NFT collection to be, authentic and trustworthy, we will, issue a verification check mark on that. But one of the cooler things about the marketplace is generally when you are doing an NFT collection, you have to have a mint site, and generally you hire a dev to throw a site up and do the minting contracts, and you do the minting on that landing page, right? Well, on Incubate, we actually have our own mint site and launchpad there. So within the contracts of Incubate, you can upload JPEG images, you can upload the standard attribute aspects of the NFT, and you can upload them all into the contract and spit out how many NFTs you want with the different character traits and attributes, and have them minted right there on the platform. You don't have to pay a dev to do any of the funny contract stuff that needs to be done or any of that. I mean, it's so simple. Literally, I believe a 12-year-old could probably figure it out. So it's a kind of an all-in-one thing. And I'm not saying it's not been done before, but it definitely makes it a little easier.
I think that that's a huge hurdle. When we talk about barriers to access, barriers to entry in the crypto market and the Web3 market, they're huge. You have to figure out how to get your wallet. You have to get this, that, and the other. And then it's even bigger for projects that want to launch, because now they have to find a trusted dev to mint the reveal, the smart contract. So to be able to kind of supersede that and just give them a direct path to access, I think, is a huge feature.
Yeah, I agree with that. And in regards to that, we have seen 3 pre-reports so far on the Launchpad and 1 pre-report on the actual marketplace itself from Surtech. So we are definitely making progress on that. But yeah, I plan to go after. We designed this to be appealing to users, to be a very easy user experience, and also cater to creators as well. And that's kind of what we're going after, and that is where Mike Miller's NFT collection will debut when we decide to go live with it. Now, there has been a slight change in kind of for Mike Miller's collection. I'm not sure if we touched on it the last time you and I spoke, but in the very beginning, we wanted to do 5,000 NFTs on BSC and 5,000 NFTs on Ethereum, obviously because we're on both of those chains. But we have decided since to mint the entire collection on Ethereum. We want to give it the best absolute chance that we can to actually make a name for itself, and I owe that to Mike Miller. So our entire collection will be on the ETH network.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's great. I'm also curious what blockchains are going to be supported on Incubate.
All EVM.
Okay, even Shibarium.
Not Shibarium.
Not Shibarium. All right, I'm laughing. If you
All
want
of
Shibarium, let me know.
Real quick. Okay. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of Shib and Shibarium. I'm a big supporter. It is a new chain, and I do think that there is a certain time that should be allotted for any kinks and things like that to be worked out. But big supporter of obviously Shib and everything they're doing over there. So just to clarify, but it will be the standard EVM chains that you would find in Trust Wallet, MetaMask, OpenSea, Blur.
Yeah, fair play, man. And I'll just say this as a side note: everyone was fighting Solana until they didn't. So keep faith, guys.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
So basically most of the major EVM chains, obviously not necessarily like third party, no one's ever heard of it, but all the major ones that are already adopted and already achieving success and high levels of volume.
Absolutely. Dane, do you have anything you have anything you want to add to that? Now, Dub played a big role in actual orchestration and construction of this marketplace. Unfortunately, he is on honeymoon right now and not here to touch on it. But Dane, you want to come up and speak some thoughts real quick? So I'm not just up here doing all the talking.
Yeah, you're good. I enjoy listening, man. To be honest with you. So yeah, I'm happy to jump in at any point. I think that the NFT stuff is going to be a really big deal. I think we're all aware of what happened over the past 6 months with the Yuga Labs and with OpenSea and kind of the void that's created within the NFT space. In fact, I think Blur has been on the rise as a result. So you can clearly see that there is a space to be filled for NFT holders and investors. And this fully functional NFT marketplace, I think, is going to be a very big hit. And it's going to be very welcome for people as Shib got into that are, the creators that are looking to get rewarded, and for investors just wanting to get on to a different place to get different exposures. I think this will be a good segue into that wider NFT space and the Web3 DeFi crowd, kind of what we represent more. So I'm excited about that one. And Mike S. Miller is no joke, guys. He's a 35-year DC Marvel veteran. And, we've got him as our, on our core team, working with us. So there's no telling, what all we will do with him by our side as this rolls out. This alone could be the centerpiece of pretty much any project. We've got all these different things to talk about, but just this one thing could be the backbone of many different altcoins out there. So I'm very excited for it. I'm also very bullish on NFTs coming back. A lot of people write stuff off in the bear market just because they get a little overly bearish, just the same as they do when they get a little overly bullish in the bull market. So people, threw the NFTs under the bus because, of course, some of them get completely eradicated as far as the value. But they will come back, and they'll come back with a vengeance. And we are prepared to take a big chunk of that market share when it does.
Yeah, I talked with a pro gamer recently on one of these spaces, and he's a pretty big name, multi-million followers. I don't know, I'm drawing a blank on it right now. It's 10 o'clock, give me a break. But and he kind of mentioned, I asked him about our NFTs like every other sector of the market, where they have their season, like, there's meme season, there's utility coin season, there's this specific type of utility token season like AI or things like that. And he thinks NFTs are 100% within the same realm. There are times when they're hype and they're high in the spotlight and the focus, and then there's times when they lull. But just because it's lulled, everything is lulled in the bear market, and we're seeing a comeback. And I've actually been seeing a comeback of NFTs myself in the past couple weeks. So I don't know if you guys agree, but that's just my market analysis.
I do agree. I have seen that too, and I think it's just a small preview of what will come back. Like this is just a mini bull market that we're in right now. This is not the main event, not even close. This is just warm up. And so I think it's the same thing. You're starting to see that with NFTs in different sectors of the space. But yeah, the timing I think is going to work out. It's a hell of an audit, as Shiv mentioned, as far as what we're actually covering in that marketplace and getting secure the way we do. But when it's done, I'm pretty optimistic that the timing is going to be right on the money.
Yeah, well, the craziest thing is that you've said to me is 13 Certic audits.
It's going to be 11 after the
11.
NFT
I mean,
marketplace.
it doesn't. If it's over one, you're talking about massive amounts of money, massive amounts of dedication to what you're building, because obviously they have hefty price tag. They're the industry leader in DeFi when it comes to auditing. So to make that commitment to all those things, as well as the centralized exchanges, which maybe we can move on from the NFT marketplace. Last thing I want to mention before the NFT marketplace, before we leave the NFT marketplace, is how, if at all, does it connect to the SquidGrow token?
So just like SGX and the perpetual exchange, there is going to obviously, hopefully, be a certain amount of revenue generated there, at least for our NFT collection, and a percentage of that, which we have not spoke on that percentage yet, but a percentage of that will go back to our community in the form of chart support or liquidity injections. As you will hear, everything that we're building as far as utility goes will feed back into our community in the form of chart support and liquidity injections. So everything moving forward, we are coming out with, will kind of fall up under that set of rules right there. Anything that we're building, we think that it is a desirable utility, and there is potential of it to thrive, and obviously potential for it to generate revenue. Why else would we pour hundreds of thousands of dollars into building if we didn't truly believe that it had the chance to build revenue? So I mean, that's, as you'll see, that's kind of our mold moving forward with our utilities.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, that covered everything I wanted to cover on the NFT marketplace. Do you guys have time to continue? Do you have time constraints?
Absolutely. We got a lot of stuff that now, obviously, we're not going to touch on everything that we're building here, but
Yeah,
we do have
I can go another 30 minutes at least. So
Okay.
we can
All
as
right,
long as you guys are good, we're good.
Yeah. So I'll do my best to kind of work my way through that. So we are getting ready to drop our new bridge. Obviously, that's not really a utility, but just so the community is aware, we have developed another bridge, and it has successfully passed Surtech and has been done for a while. So here very soon, you will see our bridge go live. Outside of that, the next thing I think I will touch on is Nox Locker. Nox Locker is our own liquidity and token locker. You have the ability to lock liquidity there and vest tokens for whatever amount of time that you want. That also was successfully audited by Surtech. And I think the UI on it's pretty nice. Essentially, the reason why we decided to build our own liquidity locker is on most liquidity platforms, when you lock and relock your liquidity with them, because the way that we do our liquidity now is we're on a 3-month pattern. When we first locked liquidity, it was for a year, and obviously we were unable to migrate our BSC contract because our liquidity was locked. So we were forced to just kind of weather, the poor functionality of that first contract. So now moving forward, we lock our liquidity in 3-month intervals, and on most platforms, the liquidity lockers charge you 1% to lock your liquidity. So literally, you're losing 1% of your liquidity every time you relock your liquidity, and that kind of just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So we decided to make our own liquidity locker. Put the basic features in there. I'm not going to say it's super sophisticated. It is a locker, and it does have the token vesting aspect to it. But outside of that, we were able to put that together relatively quick and push it through Surtech audit, and that is one of our most recent audits. So very similar to all of our other utilities, any of the revenue that's generated there will be a portion of that goes back to our community for chart support. And what we are going to do, with Nox Locker, is we are working on a referral program where if you refer a project to us and they lock their liquidity with us, you will get a kickback based on the amount of liquidity that they lock with us, because obviously our fee will come from a small percentage of their liquidity. I can tell you this, we're going to be a lot more competitive than 1%. But with that said, for the first 30 days of Knox Locker going live, it will be 0 fee. So this really won't start until after those first 30 days. So after the fees are implemented onto Knox Locker, if you refer a project to lock liquidity with us or vest tokens with us, you will get a kickback as a result of that. And what we are hoping to achieve with that is just get people to actively go out there and try to find projects to lock with us, because they get an incentive to do so.
Right. I mean, I think that's a pretty solid way to get that particular utility adopted. I mean, you covered the NFT marketplace, how you appeal to the artists to like incentivize to get them to launch on there. And over here, the referral program makes perfect sense, because obviously it's at no cost to me as CoinMerge to tell our friend project, we launched at Knox Locker. You should as well. It's safe, whatever. So it makes sense to me in terms of adoption of that.
Absolutely, and you get a nice little kickback. So I mean, somebody out there that's really motivated could potentially pay their bills from this, depending on how many projects they kick our way. So there will be a set kickback, a set fee, so it will be known. I'm not prepared to speak on that yet, because as I said, for the first 30 days, it's 0 fees. But there will come a time and a place where we actually announce this, the fees to lock liquidity with us, and what the kickback will be for the referral program.
Right, works for me. So when it comes to those 3 utilities, the NFT marketplace, SGX, and the liquidity locker, the only thing I think we didn't cover necessarily is the staking, unless there's another utility that I forgot. But when it comes to the staking, it's no longer 50%, of course, but is that still live at all? Is there any staking?
No, sorry that I kind of went right past this. We, as I stated earlier, we ran a high APR for the betterment of our life, but we concluded the staking contracts as of October 1st. So we no longer offer staking program at all.
So for anyone that was staked before October 1st, and they didn't withdraw, they can still just go withdraw. It's just over.
Correct. So if you were staked on the BSC chain, so we concluded our staking program and timed it with our BSC migration for the contract. So when we were doing the BSC migration, we told everybody, if you're currently in the BSC staking contract, you don't need to do anything. You can leave your tokens there. We will pull the data from the staking contract directly, and we initiated a mass airdrop to everybody. So there was absolutely nothing anybody had to do. Now, if you're in the Ethereum contracts, at the time we concluded, actually 77 people still have their tokens in the contract, and I've spoken to most of them. They just feel like their tokens are safest in the staking contract, so they just choose to leave them there. But the vast majority of people, withdrew their tokens from the staking contract, but you can do it at your leisure. Sooner rather than later, I would like to see kind of all the tokens out of the staking contract, because to be quite frank, we can't start trying to repurpose the staking contract until it's zeroed out. So, the 77 people that... Go ahead.
You've heard the man. I'm one of them. I'm getting it out. I just staked it and forgot it, so hey, that's what it is.
Fair enough. Yeah. So,
76.
76. Well done. Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't start trying to repurpose those until the contract is zeroed out. So unfortunately, the 77 people that are in there are kind of holding up, progress in regards to that. And I'm not going to necessarily pay another, $25,000 to have my staking contracts audited again when I have 2 that are perfectly fine. I just need to get them zeroed out. So hopefully we can get those zeroed out at some point. But
I mean, if you can get it close enough to where the remaining holdings are negligible that you could reimburse to be more worth it, then obviously you could.
Well, the tokens will always remain in the staking contract, but if we decide to start trying to repurpose and play with it, if there's tokens in there, and I turn the reward function of the contract I turn the reward aspect of the contract on, and there's tokens in there, those tokens would then suck up whatever I have deposited in the contract, and we would not be able to get that back. So therefore, we will not move forward on progress until it is actually zeroed out.
Okay. All right. Good to know on the staking contract. So I think
Yeah.
that's all the utilities, right?
No, nope, not yet.
All right. What do we got next?
Okay, so and Dane helped me. Okay, so actually, one thing that we just touched on the other day for the first time, I thought we had publicly spoke on it, but apparently we did not. So obviously, you're familiar with AnySwap, right? The bridge that I spoke on earlier. It was, multi-billion-dollar bridge, billions of dollars in
Correct.
assets crossing. So when we were developing a solution for our current bridge that we are getting ready to drop right now, the loss of AnySwap in the space left a major void. And I say that because there are major projects in the top 300 that used AnySwap and still don't have a bridge. In fact, Baby Doge last week posted that they still don't have a bridge, and if you want to essentially move from one chain to another, use Mexi Exchange, right? Because they don't have a bridge, so they're utilizing an exchange to do the whole multi-chain because both chains are listed there. So that just goes to show that there's a void in the space. So what we have decided to do is we're coming out with a bridge solution for the masses, where for a very, very, very small fee, I mean, we're talking a couple BNB or the equivalent in Ethereum, you can have our contracts deployed for your project, and ownership of that bridge transferred to you, and you will have your own bridge, essentially a white label of our bridge. It comes with a generic front end UI. For a fee, you can have it customized, or your devs can customize it, and you can just take the contracts. But we're going to try to we're going to attempt to fill the void that AnySwap has left behind. So, usually when, at least in the bull, when projects launched, at least for some of them, one of the first things they want to do is they want to go multi-chain. Well, there's a big problem right now because there's not a very easy solution. Now you can pay a company to white label a bridge, and you can white label a bridge for between $10,000 to $15,000, which, it's a hell of a lot cheaper doing a white label solution than it is having one built from scratch. Or you can come to our solution, and for a fraction of that cost, we'll deploy the contracts for you, transfer you ownership. You'll sole owner, completely decentralized, and you can have the bridge. Now, just to clarify, this was not really a custom built bridge. We took layer 0 bridge, which is the bridge we are using. And obviously, for at least SquidGrow, we tailored it to our needs and then ran it through audit. This bridge solution we are offering out to the masses is the same principle. The only difference is there will be a small fee structure coded into the bridge. So if you get our essential white label version of our bridge, just know that your users will be paying a very small fee to utilize that bridge. And the revenue generated on that bridge will then go back to our ecosystem, same manner as I previously spoke on, in the form of chart support. So that's something that we are working on, that I actually just slipped up the other night on, and didn't realize that I haven't actually told my main community about that. My mistake.
Man, that starts to blend in, man. When you've been in this space long enough, when you've been operating for over a year, at some point you start doing so many things that you're like, I forgot to tell them about that. So that kind of makes sense to me. We've been there ourselves. So when it comes to the bridge, it's a purely ETH to BSC, or is it multi-chain more than that?
It's our bridge is obviously BSC to Ethereum, but the bridge solution we're offering to the masses is EVM. So you can have it deployed on any chain that you want.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's obviously a huge solution to people. I know projects always want a bridge. Bridges are so dangerous, so expensive to build. You're right, going through a white label solution is cheaper, and then to build your own is dangerous and expensive. But obviously, I assume you guys are also getting a CertiK audit for that bridge.
Yes. So yes, absolutely. And the key to point out here is it's essentially the layer 0 bridge, right? So layer 0 bridge is obviously decentralized, but it's very safe and very secure. So obviously we handle the bridge, right? So obviously this model of white label, we will put an audit on, we will have it audited. And then when the project obviously, we will not provide an audit for, say, CoinMerge if they purchase the white label for us. It's your responsibility to then have it audited, but we will provide our audits that we've had done on it, and it's up to you to essentially have it audited since then or after that. Very similar to like AnySwap. AnySwap had their bridge audited. It was what it was. If you wanted to white label their bridge solution, and then it's up to you to have it audited. But quite frankly, in the AnySwap solution, you actually couldn't audit the bridge because you don't control the contracts. They did. So in our situation and our proposed utility, you will be full ownership of it. We won't have access to the bridge or anybody else. It's going to be just the project. So obviously, we will have our white labeled bridge audited, and we will provide those audits, and it will be added to our numerous audits that we currently have with Surtech. And you can just share that audit, and it's the same bridge.
Hey man, well it's obviously cool when it comes to what you guys are offering, because a lot of these things aren't commonplace. I mean, there are not a lot of bridges out there. Like if I'm CoinMerge Technologies and I want to bridge to Arbitrum and AVAT and Avalanche, I don't know where to go. So it's a huge sector in the market that has been untapped, and I think particularly because of the difficulty of development with it. Has that been a difficult process?
So I'll touch on our bridge journey real quick, not to take too much time. But the first bridge that we actually had a custom bridge built, and it actually went to Surtech, and it passed Surtech audit. Right before it went into the penetration test, we were doing some digging around in the bridge, just trying to get familiar with it, and I found what I thought was a login credential in our code. And we were currently onboarding a developer at that time, which we ended up not going with, and then also our now lead developer, Calamari, and I shared my findings with them. They both verified that is a backdoor. That backdoor could be coded out, but it was a backdoor. Upon digging through it some more, we found additional backdoors. I think it got up to like 4 backdoors, potential backdoors. And although these backdoors could have been coded out of the contracts completely, I made the argument that obviously if there was 4 backdoors in there, there's probably 5 or 6, and we probably may or may not find all of them. So we decided to scrap it completely, and there was quite a bit of money spent on that Surtech audit for that custom built bridge. So that's what put us in the situation where we went with AnySwap. Now, talking about after we touched on what happened to AnySwap and now our current bridge solution, there was some technical hurdles when it came to building on top of the layer 0 bridge, but it was not as time consuming as it was going through the process of having our custom bridge built, because they're essentially starting with these contracts that have been heavily audited, and essentially you build on top of it to tailor it to your needs. So that aspect was not very, very overly complicated, at least not for our developers.
All right, fair play, man. A lot of content this AMA. Like, it's one of those things where usually I run out of things to say with a project after 15 minutes, and then I spend another 30 minutes milking it. But this has just been more content, and we're still going.
I've got one other utility to touch on, and we just recently announced this after we got our proof of concept on it. So if you've got the time, I'd love to talk about it.
Send it, bro. I got time for you guys.
All right, let's go. So we recently just announced that we're coming out with our own privacy cross-chain aggregator that's utilizing the secret network. So I'm not sure those that are familiar with what a privacy cross-chain aggregator is, but it simply allows you to move assets from one chain to another in a manner that makes it very difficult to track. Now, obviously, secret network is a privacy network, and it's not traceable. Like you can't trace transactions, but we can't say that it is fully untraceable, because then that could potentially put us in hot water. But I will say that this is a complete decentralized privacy cross-chain aggregator where There is no custodial custody of users' funds. We don't hold users' funds for a second, so we're definitely not like a mixer or in the category of Tornado Cash where they're pooling users' funds together. I mean, this is completely decentralized and non-custodial, and I'm very, very excited about it. We have secret network developers building it with my dev team, and they're making great progress on it, and I'm very excited to be able to roll this out. You know, this type of thing is something that I use quite frequently, and you know, I think that the masses will appreciate it. And I'm not saying we're the first to do it. There is competition out there, but my marketing budget's bigger than them. So, in my personal opinion, we're rolling out something of better quality and something that's completely decentralized. We're not reliant on exchanges, and it's non-custodial. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a banger, and I think, at least in my circle of friends, we'll probably be generating quite a bit of money because I know my friends utilize this type of thing quite often.
Nice. Dane, anything you want to add to that?
I'm really, really bullish on the privacy cross-chain aggregator. I think that the coolest thing about SquidGrow, to wrap up the utility here, you combine that Shibtoshi just described with the Ultimo partnership that we have, and you've kind of got the complete off-ramp and privacy solution built into SquidGrow's ecosystem as well. And just to touch on the Ultimo partnership, we actually got our bank card approved for Ultimo just yesterday. So it's pretty badass custom card that you can actually, you can get the SquidGrow pimped out on your daily spending card with Ultimo. So very cool. But this privacy cross-chain aggregator is definitely some next level tech. I just got off the phone with Shibtoshi speaking about it prior to this AMA, and it was it's definitely got me bullish on it. It's something that I too will use, and it's also something that I think a lot of people will be using more and more. Let's be honest, not a lot of people have been off ramping funds this past year and a half. They've been trying to on ramp them, or maybe spending just as little as possible. But when the gains come and the bull market comes back, there's going to be a lot of off ramping. So those privacy tools are going to become a mainstay.
It's so funny that off ramping should be bullish at the end of the bull market, I guess, and on ramping should be bullish in the beginning of it. So, but obviously, time in the market is better than timing the market. So, sticking around and having those utilities for when the right time comes is ultimately where you want to be. So, great utility. I assume they'll maybe also be. Is it the same across the board in terms of the a kickback to the charts?
Absolutely. Very similar to the banner depicted on the main SquidGrow page. That is our building around SquidGrow. SquidGrow is the center of the universe. Everything is obviously branded in separate, so everything's separate, but everything feeds back into the center of the universe, which is SquidGrow. So, there's benefit for our community there with everything that we are taking on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible amount to take on in a year and a half, right? Since you guys have been launched. I mean, obviously, if you guys it's a huge money expenditure, I'm sure in the millions, and it's a huge time expenditure. And I'm sure that basically, all the time that the community is not hearing from you, it's because you're dealing with all these UI issues, all these UX issues, all these coding and regulatory and financial issues. I'm sure it's very overwhelming in terms of just day to day. You guys are putting in 12 plus hours.
I definitely truly believe in everything that we are building here, and that's why I'm putting up my own money to do so. And as you stated earlier, you're correct. We have 6 figures in audits, and I think that alone is pretty bullish myself. But an audit doesn't necessarily really mean anything if the utility that is audited is the masses do not find useful, or user friendly. So that comes down to making sure we're putting out quality. And I'm happy to say that our first major undertaking that will be going live is going to be Incubator NFT Marketplace. That is our first major build that we'll be putting out to the community. All the other stuff, that could be considered utilities or whatever, but I'm very excited for 2024. 2024 is the year of our utilities. Everything that we've been building since 2022, it's about to drop. Now, I say about to drop, not like tomorrow or next month, but we have made substantial progress on it on the time that we have been building, and we've got some heavy hitting stuff, in the works right now. And some utilities are 9 months in development, which we've not dropped to the masses yet. And I think that particular utility in itself is going to be another banger as well. But we are doing things kind of in the background, and I hope that my community knows that I get up every day and I bust my ass every day for my community. So I work those long hours, and on and off the phone all day long and messaging, just making sure that we're on track and making sure that we're running SquidGrow the way that we should be, because we have a community that depends on us to make the right decisions. So
Right.
I'm very excited for 2024.
Yeah, man. It's obvious to me that you guys take your time to release things. You don't rush things and put something that might endanger people out the door, or something
Absolutely.
that is going to reflect badly on your enterprise out the
Exactly.
door. And so
I mean, like I
I think,
said, I think some of the community members, are wondering why certain things take more time than others. And, I would say that, certain utilities just take time. I mean, yeah, we could white label, let's say a perpetual exchange. We could have the same perpetual exchange that 8coin has or that PancakeSwap utilizes. I mean, we could have that probably in 2 weeks, but what makes us different and unique from them if we have the same exact thing with just a different UI? Absolutely nothing. So how are we going to attract users to our
well,
platform?
there's also other scaling and customizability options that people don't know about that comes to white labeling, right? If
Correct.
you white label, there's certain things that are black boxed, or otherwise, you don't have an engineer who built it, who's like, enmeshed with that code base, who can alter things on a fly. And that customizability is the
That's where it's
key to
at.
scalability.
Yeah, that's where that's where it's at. What I was saying is, if we're no different than everybody else, how are we going to attract the masses to come trade on our platform? We're not. But you come out with something that's unique and something that is scalable, and has incentive. I think you have a very good shot on attracting users. Obviously, the first round of users are probably going to be within the community, and absolutely look forward to them getting on the platforms and our utilities. But we want to market this to the masses, so we need to be different and unique in order to achieve that. So, taking the time to do the custom builds and throw money away when we decide that we don't like it, and start over essentially. Um, at the end result is something that's completely custom, completely tailored, and completely to the team's liking. And I
Yeah.
think that it will be very attractive.
Not only that, but I also have to say your guys' social media presence, your marketing presence is already pretty massive, even if it doesn't automatically reflect in the chart in terms of like 100 million X. You know what I mean? That there's things that require catalysts for tokens, staples within the DeFi marketing, whatever it is, or just how new something is tends to reflect on the hype and the movement. I mean, even Pepe is down, for example.
Yep.
So when it comes to that, losing my train of thought a little bit here, but the marketing that you guys do has been huge. Your social presence is huge, and that translates into users on utilities. Even if it doesn't necessarily translate to your token 100xing overnight, it does translate to users on these utilities. So I'd like to just touch on the one thing I didn't touch on is the next crypto gem, the other marketing efforts that you guys have taken to make your name known continuously throughout the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Dane, you want to chime in on this, and I'll kind of tag team it with
Sure.
you?
Did you talk about the Bitcoin stuff? I just want to quickly throw that in there. If
No,
not,
no, we have not. I planned on closing with that, but you can go ahead and touch on it now.
Okay, yeah. So for the past almost three weeks now, roughly, or has it been a month, Chip? It's been I think 3 weeks. We've had
Yeah, it's
an
been about 3
ongoing
weeks.
Bitcoin. Yeah, so we've had an ongoing Bitcoin competition where essentially you buy 1 billion tokens, you get one ticket, you fill out a form, and basically the more tickets you buy, that's obviously you're playing the odds there. But the winner of this competition will get a full Bitcoin gifted by SHIB to them. We'll be drawing that winner on December 25th. We'll be closing the competition on December 25th, and we'll be drawing shortly after that. And we'll be doing that live on Telegram so that people can see that it's done transparently. And the only two major rules is that you can't sell or transfer, and you must fill out the form completely. So that's still ongoing for those that want to participate in that. You have a pretty good chance in winning Bitcoin. That's obviously been a pretty cool promotion we've been running over this past time. So I wanted to kind of lead with that. And Shiv, if you want to add anything there, go ahead.
I'm just going to add that 1 billion tokens is probably at current price the equivalent to about $7. So you have very good odds to win 1 Bitcoin. We also are offering out a referral program on this. So if you get your friend to enter into this challenge, and he fills out the form and he puts you down as referring him, if your friend wins, he'll get the 1 Bitcoin, but you will also get 1 Ethereum as well as the referral fee. And we have been running this, as Dane said, for a couple weeks. It concludes on the 25th. There are some rules that we set in place with this. You can check them out in full on our official X account. But just to touch on it briefly, you have to buy on the DEX. From the time of your buy, you cannot sell. You cannot transfer your tokens to another wallet. And obviously, if you transfer tokens into the wallet that you have bought for to try to inflate your number of entries, you're only going to have the amount of entries that you have purchased on the DEX from that wallet that is submitted. So it's pretty straightforward. And Dane, go ahead and start firing away.
Yeah, so to dive into the marketing efforts more, there's been a lot of time devoted to development, of course, over the past few months, but we're getting to a point where these things are going to start rolling out, and as they do, the marketing will ramp up much, much, much more. And I'm excited for that. We've got a couple surprises in store to unveil in the new year, which is, again, only 10 days away, so it's not like I'm sloughing that off.
Very excited for one of these things. Very, very excited.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be good, man. I know exactly what you're thinking, Shiv. Yeah, so marketing, as far as what we're doing right now, I mean, you're seeing it. Just look at this chat. We've had pretty much over 100 members in this chat the entire time. Where we go, our army follows us, and that word of mouth component to SquidGrow is one of the most powerful things. And of course, we've gotten to hear Shibtoshi talk a lot, and I think that for some projects, won't name any, but for some projects, when their leaders or team goes out and speaks, it's actually not the most bullish thing. In fact, quite sometimes the opposite. Whereas I think one of our strong suits is just getting on the mic, being transparent, opening up, and telling you guys what we have coming. That's I think that instills a lot of trust in people. So one of our main marketing weapons is just that. It's getting our reach out there, and the people that follow the community that shills and spreads, they do a lot of that for us. But they've up until recently, they haven't had the utilities to go out and shill, but they're about to have a lot of substance with these things dropping. So we're going to add to that firepower of the community with actual marketing campaigns centered around these different utilities. And there will be proper campaigns coming as these roll out. And I think that'll be a big difference as far as what you're seeing in 2024 versus what you've seen this year, is that we'll have very organized, structured marketing campaigns around these utilities, aiming to kind of garner that user base and bring them into the project, which of course transfers into the chart. And at the end of the day, what really makes marketing work is the chart. It's reality. For instance, when some of these meme coins launch and send, they do all these different things that are supposedly bringing new users in, but really all they're doing is energizing the community that's already there. And then the word of mouth just continues to spread it. And the real centerpiece of that is the chart. But as soon as the chart turns red for most of these meme coins, not all, but for most of them, they pack up shop and run away. Because when that starts to correct, that's when things get tough. So we've been through those moments. We've had crazy pumps. We've had multiple crazy pumps, in fact. And we've weathered the storm of the corrections And I think when we come back, because so many people have heard of SquidGrow and it's become such a recognized brand in the industry, the steam that we'll have with this reversal is going to be a sight to behold. We are on a lot of people's radars. Regardless of your opinion of SquidGrow, you've probably heard the name more than once, and maybe you have your own opinion of it, good or bad. But I think that a lot of the sentiment, maybe some of the negative that's come with the chart looking the way it is now, is going to completely do a 180 as that turns back to the upside. And as it does turn back to the upside, as these utilities roll out, which I believe it will, the little marketing things that typically work for things like meme coins start to hit a lot harder. Each AMA, for instance, may actually create price action. And that's when these campaigns that I mentioned are going to be very exciting. So, without revealing what exactly we will be doing with marketing, I can tell you that I am very excited for it. And it's going to be a lot different looking this coming year than what you've seen thus far.
Yeah,
And
nice, man.
I just want to chime in real quick and kind of touch on something that you had mentioned, but Dane didn't get around to. And just to kind of fill you in on a couple of things that we have done since the last time we spoke. So since the last time we spoke, we have sponsored a TV show, The Next Crypto Gym, which starred Brian Evans, George R. Us, and Layla. It was aired on several TV networks, and we were, I'm not going to say the primary sponsor, but we were one of the top sponsors. So we had our content obviously depicted throughout that show in the form of our logo, a QR code, and also some of our advertisements were burnt in to the TV show itself. And something that is cool that we have recently done, I wouldn't necessarily call it marketing, but very recently, as of maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, I think it was actually in October, I flew the entire team out to a undisclosed location, and we all met in person. The only exception was two of our team members that could not make it. We also flew Sesh out from New Zealand. We did some video content, so shout out to him. Art of Alexander was the camera guy shooting that content, so we were able to jam pack it full of content. But we also got a lot of SquidGrow time and talking about the future and the direction of our utilities. Slum Doge was there. Crypto Wendy was there. RDub obviously was out. Dane, just jam packed of SquidGrow. So that was something kind of cool and unique that we had recently done. I think in this space where you essentially operate on Telegram, and there's a lot of communications over messaging and video calls, voice calls, excuse me. I think it's important that you're able to all meet up at a central location, look each other in the eyes, shake each other's hands, formally meet everybody, and talk shop, and make plans and chart a direction, and make sure that everybody's on board. And sometimes you need another viewpoint from somebody else's perspective, and that's exactly what this type of thing does for that. And yeah, so that's something we recently did. So it was real cool. Got some good content and got to have some great direction. Actually, it was at this meetup that I was talked out of giving away 2 Bitcoin, and was suggested that I give away 1 Bitcoin. So that's what we did. I originally had planned to give away 2 Bitcoin, but Wendy suggested I drop it to 1. So maybe next time it'll be 2.
Hey, one does the trick. 1 is enough incentive. Let's summarize, make another kind of call to action, so to speak, with the not financial advice disclaimer. The conditions are that you buy 1 billion SquidGrow, right?
Absolutely, yes. And you buy 1 billion SquidGrow token, roughly about $7 right now. You fill out the form completely, including the address that you purchased from on the DEX. It has to be a DEX purchase. You also include your Bitcoin address. This is not the same address as your BNB address or your ERC20 address.
You probably want to use your Coinbase Bitcoin.
Correct. Yes, you probably Trust Wallet is compatible with True Bitcoin, so you can pull your True Bitcoin address from Trust.
Hey, I did not know that. I learned something new today.
Yeah, we actually the 1 Bitcoin we're actually giving away is sitting in our Treasury wallet, although it is a different chain with a different address, so it's not really viewable, but that's where it's at. It has a different address completely. But yes, you can actually send and receive real Bitcoin, true Bitcoin in Trust Wallet. MetaMask is not compatible with Bitcoin, but if you are confused about it, it's probably just safer to go to an exchange and generate a Bitcoin address on that exchange. Make sure that it is a true Bitcoin address, and you add that in there, because you definitely don't want to try to receive a Bitcoin on the ERC20 network. It probably will ruin the rest of your year.
And it doesn't matter which chain you buy this on.
No, absolutely not. BSC chain, Ethereum chain, it does not matter. All that matters is that it's a DEX purchase. You fill out the form. You don't transfer your tokens out of the wallet you have purchased from, and you don't do any sells up until, obviously, we announce the winner of the challenge. And also, don't try to inflate your entries, because we had at the beginning of this did take a screenshot. We will take a screenshot at the end of it, but we will also be going through all the data on chain to see if there was any funny business. We've had some people actually do some big sells. One that we saw was a $15,000 total sell on the DEX, only then to a couple days later re-inject those funds back into the DEX and fill out a form. Well, they're unfortunately disqualified because they did a sell to essentially re-enter into this challenge, and those situations don't qualify. Yeah.
And just to clarify, if I'm a candid new investor and I buy 10 billion, is that 10 entries?
Absolutely. For every 1 billion tokens is an entry. So, you buy a trillion tokens, I believe it's 1,000 entries. It doesn't matter if you do it multiple times, or multiple times from the same wallet, or multiple times from different wallets. It would actually make more sense if you just do your entirety of the buy from a single wallet. So you fill the form out once, but you can essentially, buy 100 billion tokens from 10 different wallets, and 10 billion tokens from 10 different wallets, and do 10 entries. Or you can buy 10 billion tokens from a single wallet. It's the same amount of entries. So it doesn't really matter however you want to do it, whatever you think gives you the best chances. But yes, for every 1 billion, it's a entry. So you can buy as many as you want.
No current. I assume that you're compiling all the data at the end.
Absolutely. So there is a Google form that you have to fill out and
so you go
submit
through
to
the
us.
Google Forms and then just cross check it with the DEX.
Absolutely. So how it will work on the 25th is the conclusion of this challenge, and then at the conclusion of that, we will shut down the form, and then we will start going through the addresses, making sure that the people that we enter into the drawing meet the criteria. They have obviously bought on our DEX. They haven't transferred out. They haven't done any sells. They did buy the 1 billion token threshold, and we will tally it up with this. I'm not going to say software that we had created by our bot guy, but with something to help us better keep track of the amount of entries. And then
if you had to do this manually, I mean, you have enough volume that it would be insane. I assume, centralized exchanges are exempt. So if you're buying from a centralized exchange, it doesn't apply.
Absolutely, because we cannot see that data on chain. We can't verify that you purchased. We can't verify if you've sold. It has to be on DEX, so it has to be verifiable. So we will be, after we get all that squared away, we will put out the list, obviously redacting everybody's personal information and obviously addresses, and we will do our drawing live on video. And hopefully we change somebody's new year. Hopefully we change somebody's life, and if it's not life changing, at least it will help them out in the immediate future with bills and whatever they deem fit. And
I mean, for most Americans, 23,000 is a solid.
Well,
is it?
I mean, 23,000 would have been one Bitcoin a couple months ago, but currently it's about 43 grand.
Sorry, 43 grand. I switched my digits.
Numbers around,
and then subtracted and whatever. My math is messed up. 40 something K. Hey, that's like 1 month of living expenses for the average American these days. And no,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No, it's a solid. It's a solid half a year for most Americans. So
so
it's huge.
Also, whoever the winner is, SquidGrow Joe would like to have that winner on YouTube on his YouTube channel to do a little interview with. Obviously, he doesn't have to dox his face; it can just be voice. But that's completely discretionary, up to them. But he has made the offer that the winner has the opportunity to come on to SquidGrow Joe's YouTube channel and do an interview and talk about the Bitcoin, winning the Bitcoin, and what they may or may not do with it. If it helped them out in any way, shape, or form. And so, very interesting. I will say this: the winner of the Bitcoin will have to be comfortable with putting their address out publicly. And the reason being is we have to publicly drop the transaction hash to verify that we have made the transfer. So we need kind of two things. One, we need the winner of that to publish their address, and then we will obviously follow that up with the transaction hash of us sending it. So there is no he said, she said stuff at all. Last thing we want to do is, follow through and transfer the Bitcoin, and then the winner come out and say, well, I never received the Bitcoin or something like that. So for transparency reasons, there has to be some accountability.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, obviously, if you're receiving $42,000, it comes with caveats.
Yes.
So 44,000, man, I can never keep track of it these days.
Who knows? It's fluctuating so up and down. It's making progress.
Last time I checked, it was 17,000, right?
Oh,
that's what we
my
had
God! Yeah, I hope it was 17,000 when you placed your fat margin and leverage trade on Bitcoin going up. I hope that's the last time you looked at it.
No, the last time I looked at it, I invested in an altcoin that I've broken even on despite the BTC pump. But hey, I still hold SquidGrow personally. Still bullish on SquidGrow, and having you guys on there. Ultimately, for me, I'm not saying it represents CoinMerge as a whole. CoinMerge Technologies is a company, but I personally, get excited about this stuff because when you talk to me, I don't have to scramble for questions. They just come to me because it's way leads on to way. It's all content based. It's not pulling teeth. There's still much more we could talk about what you've already done and what's already to come. But 5 major utilities, if I'm counting correctly, that
who's keeping track?
And that's within a year. So within another year or 2 years or 3 years from now, I mean, some of those utilities may be defunct, and there might be 4 new ones in their place as you guys adjust to the market and kind of progress with everything. So a utility-based project that hasn't released any of their utilities yet, because they're all coming within the next year. And because you guys have taken your time with them and gotten CertiK audits and done your market research and market analysis and figured out what really is needed from these utilities. So I'm bullish as always. I think we can close out this thing.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say, you've been on this journey with us from the beginning, man. Very early on, we found CoinMerge and did our very first space with y'all, and y'all kind of followed along with us along the way, and it's much appreciated. I definitely love the support and love chatting with you guys. And, obviously I love listening in on your spaces, especially when you get stonks up there. It's always entertaining. So, keep it up, and thank you for the ongoing support. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Looking forward to promoting over the next 6 months, which we are working with you guys for. When these utilities release, starting with the NFT marketplace, although the staking is already out, whatever.
No, the staking is discontinued. Knox Locker, the liquidity locker.
But you're going to reuse the staking contract in near future is what I was trying to get to.
Well, we would like to look into how we could potentially repurpose it. There is no guarantees. We've not publicly made that guarantee, but if there is a way to repurpose that in some way, shape, or form, I'd love to do it, because we did spend quite a bit of money on making the contracts and then having it audited. So it would be a shame to just toss that money away.
Yeah, fair play. So Bridge or NFT marketplace? Which comes first?
Liquidity and Bridge. Well, liquidity locker's out now. It is live. Bridge, and then we're currently in audit with the NFT marketplace.
NFT marketplace, followed by SquidGrow X, and then the future staking is.
Well, not necessarily in that order, but yes, the next thing that you can see aside from the liquidity locker will be our bridge for the community. The bridge that we are adding out to the masses will come a little later, but it is being worked on. But our
Right, the
first
internal bridge, and then
yeah,
the outsourced,
correct.
contracted bridge.
Correct. Yes,
Down
but
the
our
line with
first,
the big stuff.
okay, our first major utility drop is going to be Incubate, our NFT marketplace. That is, our 11-month build, and it's currently in audit right now, and that will put us at an overall of 11 audits.
Awesome. And then in the future, maybe repurpose the staking contract. But other than that,
I know you want to get. I know you want to get back in there, man. I know you enjoyed the APR. We'll do what we can to find a way to repurpose it.
No, it's fine. I'm good without the APR because obviously this token is undervalued from my perspective personally.
Criminally undervalued, I would say.
Yeah, especially based on how much you've put out there. I mean, there's tokens that launch, with nothing.
I don't even want to talk about it. All right, I don't even want to talk about it. It bothers the crap out of me at times. But
you've been there for a year and a half. We've been there almost 3 years, so we're with you, man. But at the same time, I think a big difference is, we here at CoinMerge have released utilities, and your guys' biggest utilities are coming around the corner.
Absolutely.
And you guys have put thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars into them. And I'm excited for their releases, which I expect almost all of those are going to come in 2024.
Correct. That is that would be the ideal situation, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So bullish stuff. Again, not financial advice from what CoinMerge talks about, but what I talk about. I'm excited about what's to come with SquidGrow. I'm already excited as an investor. And when I get into these conversations with you guys, it's, it just kind of flows. And I like that. So pleasure having you on here. We'll be promoting you as time goes on. Thanks to all the listeners that came up here. I pinned 4 tweets up here. SquidGrow, the challenge, which again, for every 1 billion tokens bought on a decentralized exchange, probably just go to Uniswap is the default. Or PancakeSwap if you're BSC.
Or SGS.trade. It is our own DEX, and you can find both BSC and Ethereum token listed on SGS.trade.
Okay, 6 utilities. So for the 6th utility, you can go to SGX.trade and buy those tokens directly there.
We didn't even really touch on our DEX. That's not really a utility in my opinion. It's just more of a convenience. But yes, it would make it easier. You don't have to worry about the slippage issues you might find on Uniswap. It's really straightforward, easy to find the token. So no need to have to input the contract. It's all hard coded for SquidGrow. We do have a couple other tokens on there. Obviously, on the Ethereum side, we got Shiba. And on the BSC side, we got Evergrow and Lucro, and then some stables as well. But definitely very straightforward to use. And like Funk said, a billion tokens could win you a whole Bitcoin.
Side note: is there a single site you can go to find the links to all these resources?
Absolutely, it's going to be SquidGrow.wtf.
Okay, so go to SquidGrow.wtf. You can get connected to this DEX, which you can buy SquidGrow directly from, or Uniswap or PancakeSwap, if you're more familiar with those and don't want to just go to whatever you're comfortable with and have saved on your cash. And then, so that's the trade for the SquidGrow the challenge, which is 1 billion tokens. And again, if you enter more than 1 billion tokens, it's a multiplier for every billion that you add in your chance to win a single Bitcoin if you're interested in that. Otherwise, all these utilities come out. Also join their Telegram, which can also be found from squidgrow.wtf, as I'm on the site now, as well as all their other links, their white paper, everything else in that nature. Get connected to that. If you haven't already, follow Shibtoshi, follow Dane Crypto Blast, this the third avatar over there. And also follow SquidGrow official account as well as CoinMerge Technologies if you enjoyed what you heard here today and want to hear for future content. So any closing notes from you guys?
Funk, I just wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation. Thanks for always being in our corner and, allowing us your time to come up here and kind of go past the normal allotted time for these type of things and allow us to, thoroughly touch on what we are doing over here at SquidGrow. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the community that's taking time out of their night to jump in here and listen to me ramble on and on and on. It's always a pleasure to get up here and chat with you guys. So much appreciated and happy holidays.
Yeah, man. I hate having you on here because I always want to go to the decentralized exchange myself and just make bad, make good or bad questionable financial decisions because it's just content, and that's what I like. And I interview a lot of people, hundreds of projects, and whenever I have you guys on here, I'm always impressed. It's always all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I got rugged.
Yeah, you just went quiet for me too.
Okay. All right. Yep. Dane, you got any closing?
Yeah, I'm not sure if CoinMerge is talking. I see his mic moving. I apologize. I'm talking over you, man.
Oh.
I cannot hear you if you are. I'll just echo what you said, Shib. I think it's been a great AMA. I love when we have a good host and we can go tit for tat with him. CoinMerge is definitely one of the best hosts out there. Make sure you guys are following CoinMerge. Seriously, these guys are great. They're always hosting fire spaces. I always find myself listening throughout the week when I have nothing else to do. So thanks again, everybody, especially the army out there and the new people that just found SquidGrow. Come check us out. Come check out the Telegram, especially. That's our home base, of course. Crypto. That's where everybody is these days. So come say hi. Good bunch of people there. I think you'll like it. So with that, till next time, thank you, CoinMerge, A1. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, thank you guys. Much appreciated.